Today I notice there's a trend for more and more people to take part in butchering and preparing all of their own meat for their consumption, their family's consumption. And so I want to talk about the different knives that might be appropriate for that task. And the first knife, when I think about meat preparation, is the quintessential kitchen knife, the chef's knife. This is an 8-inch chef's knife that's made by Cold Steel in their Kitchen Classic series. This is the single most used knife in my kitchen and in my hunting camp. I always keep 5 of these things razor sharp. I tend to have a lot of parties and barbecues where I have to prepare large quantities of meat. We're talking about 150 pounds of tri-tip and stuff like that. So I need a really good, versatile meat prep knife. And this knife, its blade shape goes back for centuries. This was originally the European peasant's knife. You know, steel is still expensive, but hundreds of years ago, steel was really expensive. And people couldn't afford 10, 12, 15 different knives for every different application that they had in mind. They had to pick one knife that could do it all. And this blade shape does it all. You see it has a fairly acute point. So when it came time to butcher the pig in the fall, you could stick him with this and kill him. It's very acute and good enough for stabbing. Not perfect, but that's not its main use, but it's more than adequate. And it has a lot of sweep from the choil here to the edge, so you could skin the pig. Because it's flat ground, it was easy after you skinned him to cut him up into different portion sizes and different roasts and steaks and things that you had in mind. And it was also useful in the kitchen for chopping and cutting vegetables. Virtually any meat or food prep that you want to do, this knife will do it. So if you had to have only one kitchen or commercial knife or prep knife, if you will, for prepping anything, my first choice would be a chef's knife like this in this blade shape. I prefer, for most things, an 8-inch, but if you're going to do a lot of vegetables and stuff like that, I would get a 10-inch because it'll help you work a little faster. But it's a little bit more unwieldy. I find the 8-inch for me is just the right size. Now, if you're going to do a lot of cutting, a lot of particularly meat preparation, you might want to have some other specialized knives. The next most versatile knife that I could steer you to is a butcher knife like this. This is about an 8.5-inch, 9-inch long blade. It's got a very short clip point. The point can stick, although it's not particularly designed for that. But you could use this if you had to kill the annual pig with it. You could stick the pig with this. But here's what it really does. It is very versatile in cutting up meat. It's got a lot of belly here at the end, and it's got a flat spot here, so it's good for almost any cutting task that you can imagine. It's good for slicing. You can skin with it. You can stick with it. Just everything. You can cut steaks with it as a staking knife. So I think that this is a really valuable addition to your repertoire of knives and for meat prep and overall cook type duties. So I would get an 8-inch chef's knife and a butcher's knife, and you're well on your way. The next knife I would get is a stiff boning knife. When I say stiff, it doesn't have much flex in it. I don't want a lot of flex in my boning knife. Now, boning knives are made flexible. Some of them are very flexible, some of them are medium flex, some are stiff. Some have a lot of curve, some are straight. I'm giving you my preference. That's most all around is the stiff boning knife. This knife can do it all. You can use it to stick with. In fact, this is one of the best knives in your kitchen for self-defense. If you had a knife, grab a knife out of the kitchen knife rack for self-defense and emergency. A stiff boning knife is going to be really, really useful because it's very acute. It just pops in like nothing. So it's very good for sticking. It's sharp, it's stiff, and it cuts really well. and it's lightweight. Yeah, I can't say enough about this knife. It also makes a pretty darn good field knife. You know, I've talked about field knives, and I didn't include this because it is a little specialized for meat prep, for cutting around bones in particular. But this is a really good all-arounder that you can carry pretty obnoxiously in a sheath anywhere in the world. Kind of looks like a fillet knife and stuff. It doesn't draw any unwanted attention. So this is another very, very useful knife, especially, you know, if you're trying to maximize the meat that you get from your deer or your elk or your moose that you take every year, and you want to get all the meat off, you want to really bone it out and get all that meat, get all the meat between the ribs, and just get every little scrap you can. This boning knife is going to be invaluable in filling all that meat off those bones. So, a good addition. If you just want another all-arounder that you want to take camping for food prep, or you want to take hunting for meat prep and camp prep, this hunting knife here will really work well. It's got a lot of sweep to the blade. The point's pointy enough. You can run it across the belly. It won't stick into the entrails. And it's flat ground, so it cuts really well. It's got enough sweep to make slicing steaks and stuff very easily, parting muscles into muscle groups. So it's a good all-arounder. Maybe not as good as this, but smaller and compact. Maybe not quite as versatile as this, but this one is pretty darn handy to carry. So the next knife I want to talk about is more specialized. This is the scimitar. I call it a staking knife. This is really good for cutting big steaks. So you've got a big chunk of meat that you want to put into steaks, and you just measure how thick you want them, and you can make those big, long slices. It's also good at parties and stuff when you're carving. It's very good for carving meat. That's what I enjoy it for. Now, you guys that fish, for big fish, this is really good for staking fish out. Some people use it as a fillet knife. It has a little bit of flex, but not a lot of flex. But its long suit is, it's awesome for cutting big fish into steaks. So that's its long suit, it's long cutting strokes. Now, I have here also a fairly heavy cleaver. I made a special handle for this cleaver that's bigger than all these other handles to fill your hand and to make it comfortable to wield this heavy cutting instrument or chopping instrument. Now, why do I include a cleaver? I hate messing with a whole bunch of saws, especially electrical saws that I have to take apart and clean afterwards. I just don't like the cleanup and the saws, and you can get almost any job done quickly with a good cleaver. And there's not very many good cleavers out there. They're all too light. This is a good, heavy cleaver. I mean, you can go through ribs with this, or joints, or bones with great ease. The only thing you have to watch out with both a cleaver and a saw is little tiny bone chips. You want to make sure you get those off your meat. You can brush those off and make sure they don't stay on your meat. But these are my ideas and choices for food preparation, meat preparation, all around kitchen and work knives. Like these ones right here. I don't think we go wrong with this assortment.